want to ask you, are you hanging your head in shame that Europe's biggest council, run by Labour, is 4 weeks now into a bin strike, which has turned our second city into an international laughingstock and a major health hazard?
Yeah.
Well, they've declared a major emergency there. I don't personally hang my head in shame. I think that the Birmingham, force of habit there, Birmingham Council really need to get their act together. Look, this is an untenable situation. We've now got rats the size, not the size of cats, the size of dogs on the streets of those.
Damaging cars.
They are damaging cars.
All I can say is if I was a Reform candidate in Birmingham, I'd be rubbing my hands.
Well, there's no local elections there, because if there were local elections, it would have been sorted.
But on the other hand, if I lived in Birmingham, I would be damned angry.
Well, where's the MP for Birmingham? Surely, is that Jess Phillips, or is that a different element? Because there's...
No, Cheese Edgebasher on the south. But quite interestingly, there was a case this week where one of the Birmingham MPs was agitating for an airport in Kashmir.
Yeah. Idiot.
Yeah.
Well, what an idiot thing to do when we've got the biggest bin strike in Britain.
I can understand why an MP would do that, particularly if he was a Mapuri background. But on the other hand, when you've got rubbish piling up 20-metre-high mountains of filth and rubbish...
Haven't the householders in Birmingham got a legal case against the council?
Well, I was going to ask you about that.
Because if I had...
That's why they've declared an emergency.
Right. If I had a private house and the other side of my front garden wall there was a mountain of rubbish which had become breeding ground for rats and rodents, I know that they would implode onto my land.
Yeah.
I would actually now be discussing legal action against the council, particularly as I was a regular payer of my council tax, and one of the legal responsibilities of a council is to clear rubbish.
I'm not advocating it, and I'm not encouraging it, because we never want people to break the law, but I would completely understand if people withheld their council tax.
Oh, so would I.
In Birmingham.
And be justifiably... able to challenge that legally and say, why should I pay the council tax when you are turning my property, which I bought for 25 years, into a slum? You are turning Birmingham into a slum. You should stand down. We should throw you out of the council house and get somebody there who can run this place.
Yeah,
it's disgraceful.
It's totally embarrassing.
Why doesn't the Prime Minister pick up the phone to the leader of the council? He's the Prime Minister. He's a Labour Prime Minister.
Do you honestly think for a second he's not been doing that? Do you honestly don't think...
Well, I think...
Well, then that just shows how weak he is. That shows how weak he is, that he can't get the leader of Birmingham City Council.
He's also trying to deal with this existential threat of Trump's tariffs at the present time. Believe you me, he needs this Birmingham situation like a hole in the head. And
the tariffs are going to hit the Midlands really hard.
Of course, the car industry.
Solihull,
all the car
all
industry.
around the Midlands. It's all around the Midlands.
Yeah.
Now,
well, there are other issues with these tariffs. I mean, this is going to blow up in his face because, don't forget, George Bush tried to introduce this. The idea of these steel tariffs, it's a Soviet Union style, the idea of having your own little enclosed economy.
Yeah. But he can do what he likes. I mean, he's...
I know. He can do what he likes.
He can use it as a weapon, which he should, to get what he wants. That's what he's doing. Everyone's just annoyed.
No, it's a weapon that's going to blow up, but it's going to blow up in his face. Look,
I don't think so.
Can you explain to people listening and watching, One, why you are supporting this strike action? What is the beef you've got with Birmingham City Council?
Thank you. Well, I need to make very clear this is not about our members asking for more money. This is because Birmingham Council, before the strike action started, so we waited for as long as possible, made a decision to cut the pay of our loaders who work at the back of vehicles by up to £8,000 a year. Now, just to put that into context, that then means that the majority of staff on the refuse service in Birmingham will be earning only just above the national minimum wage. And that's what the dispute is about. We're not asking for more money. We're just trying to protect what people have got at the moment. And there's some context here. We've had a lot of news over the last couple of days, once again, about the increased cost of living, the bills that people are getting through, and yet our members here are being asked to take a pay cut of up to £8,000 a year.
The consequences for the people of Birmingham are, of course, appalling. These piling heaps of rubbish are undoubtedly a health hazard, and Birmingham is becoming an international laughingstock.
They are indeed appalling. You're absolutely right. But I would re-emphasise, we didn't start the strike action until after the employer decided it was going to go ahead and make the cut anyway. I think it's worth also adding that this is a council. Yes, it's in financial trouble, but it had no problem with councillors a few months ago agreeing to give themselves an increase in their own allowances of 5.7%. while expecting our members to take a pay cut of £8,000 a year. None of our members want to be out on strike. They live and work in this city, and they're very proud to live and work in this city. They're proud of the job that they do, but perhaps this just emphasises the importance of this job, the importance of this role, and why we shouldn't be asking these people to take a pay cut of £8,000 for the political mistakes made by Birmingham City Council.
Edwina, morning to you. This reminds me, you and I are old enough to remember the winter of discontent. Piles of rotting rubbish all over the country because bin men were on strike, you couldn't get your dead buried. This is our second city. It's beginning to feel like the winter of discontent.
Yeah, I was actually on Birmingham City Council at that time, and I was part of the controlling group, and I had big budgets to spend. I tell you what I would do now. If I was in charge right now, I would do two things. I would talk to West Midlands Police and point out that the bin men who have been walking slowly in front of the lorries attempting to disrupt any kind of collection are in exactly the same situation as Just Stop Oil people. Just Stop Oil, Just Stop bin lorries, arrest them. Arrest them. They're causing a public nuisance. You don't have to address very many to make your point, and I think that might actually put a stop to it. It sounds as if it's actually not very many bin men causing real trouble, but they are causing real trouble. And the other thing I would do is I'd have a quick word with the Secretary of State for Defence, and I'd get the Army in. And it wouldn't be the first time that the Army has been called in similar circumstances. In 1970, there was a bin strike in London, and the Army was called in to clear the rubbish from the streets. It's a public health issue, Andrew. Yeah. It's not just politics, it's a public health issue. Rats and rubbish and all that sort of stuff, really you're talking about spreading disease. You're talking about spreading serious disease like Lyme disease. And really it's up to the council to sort it out. I don't care if they've got the biggest debt of any local authority in the country, and they have an eye-watering £3 billion, and they've got themselves into all sorts of a pickle. Absolutely right. But the government has already sent in special commissionaires, or whatever you would call them, commissars, and they have all the powers that they need to get this sorted. And as for the union saying it's not about money, of course it's about money. The City Council is trying to save some money, and it's trying to run its bin service in exactly the same way that everybody else does, and the union is saying that that's going to cut £8,000 or £9,000 from some income of some of their people. Well, too bad. You don't like that job? Go and get another one.
What about the idea, Edwina, that some services you cannot go on strike? You can't go on strike if you're a police officer, if you're in the armed forces. Should there be a consideration? Now, it's never going to happen under Angela Rayner, of course, but should the Tories perhaps be considering banning certain sectors like bin women from going on strike? Because this, as you say, is now a major health hazard in our second city.
Well, it's a consideration, but as I think you know, Andrew, my late husband, John Jones, was in the police for about 35 years, and he would point out that the quid pro quo, the other thing that you get in return for not being able to strike, is a whacking great pension at the age of 55. I'm not sure we would want to be doing that for our refuse collectors, wonderful people though they all absolutely are. And bear in mind as well that in many cases, they are not directly employed by the councils, they're employed by companies like Serco. So you would be introducing all sorts of funny rules for one group of workers and not others. I don't think that's the answer. I think the answer is get tough on this particular strike and make it absolutely clear that if you don't want the job at the pay that's offered, go and do something else, because we'll find somebody who does.
Maybe we should send you to Birmingham to sort it out, Edwina. Revisit your roots. You'd be up for it, wouldn't you?
I would be up for it, absolutely.